All right, question for you. The guy in these photos, future financial mogul or eventual guitarist in a Pink Floyd cover band? Well, if you went with the first, you are right, because that is none other than Kevin O Leary, a.k.a. Mr. Wonderful on Dragon's Den right here on the Mother Network.
It's over.
Well,
Wake up and smell the hockey puzzles. It's over.
And on Shark Tank in the U.S. and as the blunt and controversial side of the Lang and O'Leary exchange.
We'll never allow the government, if I'm voting, to legislate inefficiency in any market. That is evil and sinful. Yes.
All right.
Kevin secured his fortune back in '99 when he sold his software company to Mattel for a staggering sum in the ballpark of $4 billion. That's a big ballpark. His ruthless style has made him a success in business, but his single-minded pursuit of wealth almost cost him his marriage. And that signature O'Leary charm has more than once landed him in hot water.
You were the one who started it.
I didn't call you a nutcase. I called you a nutbar.
You said you sounded like a left-wing nutcase.
Yes.
Now Kevin's gathered some of the lessons he's learned over the years in a new book called Cold, Hard Truth on Men, Women, and Money. All right, please welcome Kevin O Leary. Hey, buddy. Good to see you, man. Hey, welcome back. Have a seat. Welcome back, sir. Congratulations on your new book. I know that on the surface it's Cold, Hard Truth on Men, Women, and Money. I find it a far more caring book than I'm used to from you.
Well, you know, I just tell the truth, George.
Yeah.
Sometimes tears flow.
Right.
I don't care.
Right. But in this particular case, there seems to be a slightly warmer version of you, I've found.
Well, think about this. In life, what's more important than men, women, and money?
Right.
You have to have money. You know, people say to me...
Where does happiness fit in that?
Try being happy without money, my friend.
You have in the past said, and I've heard you say it on this show as well, that you looked at money like soldiers, right? That you wanted to send them in there to fight for you, or hopefully not die, but kill on your behalf in that sense. Has your relationship with money changed over the years?
No, I'm very much in love with it still. Yeah. There's no question.
The root of all evil,
and I
if
like
you buy
to
the
think
book.
it loves me back.
Right.
You know, I just, look, I say this in all sincerity. I've been rich and I've been poor. Rich is better.
I remember speaking with you numerous times on the show, but you're excited about getting out and going to work and all that stuff. And at a certain point, you have to look back and realize this career has taken me away from my family and taken me right. So you started. When did you realize that maybe you needed to shift? Well,
I got separated from my wife at one point because she said to me, "I've had enough. I can't live this way anymore." My pursuit of success financially was myopic. And that's just the way I was made. And after I'd achieved that, I said to myself, gee, this is an unbalanced situation. But what I think happens is that if you're a successful entrepreneur, there is an unbalanced period. There's a period where you give up everything to pursue your dream. And you don't notice when it happens, but one day you wake up and you say, wow, I'm rich.
Right.
And that's the point where you should reflect and say, is this everything I want? Is it only about money? And as I've aged, I've realized there's other things I want. And as a remarkable result of that, we're back together again. Who knew? You know, and I married her when we had nothing.
Right.
So I know she's the one girl in the world that isn't after me for my money only.
Right.
So that's a good thing. And I talk about that too. There's a great chapter in here, very controversial. It's about gold digging.
Yeah.
And I experienced that myself. I love women that are honest about why they're after you. And very often it's money, particularly if they're 30 years younger than you are.
What do you mean they're not?
Just saying, George, just saying.
What do you, he's Kanye all of a sudden, right?
Hey, listen, you know, I think it's pragmatic. And
no one's after me for my money, dude. I work at CBC.
Hey,
no one's after me for my money.
You know, you look at life, and 50% of my friends, and more of them, are divorced. And examining that process very often is a result of bad financial management. In both ways. Too much of it, too little of it. It's a very toxic potion if it's not managed properly.
So when you were separated from your wife, did you have the moment where you woke up and you said, what is this all worth?
Yeah, that happened to me a couple of times because we have children. I mean, you know, it's where you fit in a family unit as you age, and I think it's very important. Now, luckily, I can provide for my kids, but the bad news for them is I'm not going to, because I don't want them to think they're empowered with somebody else's money. That's not going to work. They're going to have to go make it on their own. I'm going to pay for their education just the way my mother did, then I'm kicking them out of the house and they're not coming back.
Right. Last time we heard, we talked about your meeting with Steve Jobs, and I've read a lot about Steve Jobs since he passed away, and people talk about how he was so unbelievably difficult and tough in a way.
Yes, he was.
Would you characterize him that way, yeah?
He was a prick.
Yeah? But do you have to be that way to accomplish what he's done?
You know, I respect him for the tremendous success and the vision he had. I was proud to work for him, because that's what I was doing, supplying him educational software. I always thought in person he could have been a nicer guy, But would that have changed the outcome? Maybe. He was a genius. And I remember him saying, I asked him about, well, maybe we should do some market research on this before we spend $2 million on a particular product we're doing for Rita Rabbit. And he said, we don't do market research. We tell them what they want. And I thought, wow, not only is that arrogant, but it's brilliant. Yeah. And it worked.
Right.
And so I said, okay, big guy, let's do it. And it was very successful.
There's a study that came out talking about employment and psychopaths and where psychopaths are. But here's the thing, CEOs, number 1. Number 2 was lawyer, and I believe number 3 was media personality. Number 6 was journalist. So I was like, wow, that's quite a place to be. Do you think that there's truth in that?
I do. I think we interviewed that guy on Lang O'Leary as well, and when I met him in the green room, I was fascinated by his thesis. It borders on the criminally insane or the myopically intense, was his point. And there's a certain kind of psychopath that's so successful at focusing on what they want to do, they end up being immensely successful. Now, that doesn't mean they're the best friend to have or that they're successful in a social setting, but when they set a task, they get it done.
Stick around, more with Kevin O Leary right after this. Up next, we know Kevin can play guitar. Let's see how he does with this song by an icon from the other end of the political spectrum.
This land is your land, and this land is my land.
I think he might break out in hives.
That's Kevin O Leary outside Mattel last night. He's from Shark Tank, the show where you pitch your idea, and if they like it, they buy it. And if they don't like it... Okay, not true, but that would be awesome!
So, do you think if TMZ years ago would have come to you with the idea for the show, you would have agreed to do it?
I love this question. God, I would love to have gone on that show and pitched TMZ to them.
I would have said, don't quit your day job.
Really?
Really?
If only Shark Tank was around back then, says Mel Gibson, and Michael Richards, and Mel Gibson, and Chris Brown, and Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson, and Mel Gibson.
How was Shark Tank going? Well, Shark Tank is like Dragon's Den. It was very slow getting out of the gate. Yeah. It's now the #1 show in America on Fridays. Yeah. It took 4 years. It got canceled 3 times in a row. And Dragon's Den's on fire. It was on Sunday night. 1.5 million Canadians watched that show. Right. You know what I love about Dragon's Den is I get 9-year-old girls coming up to me saying, I want to be an entrepreneur. Right. I'm so proud of that. I mean, they understand what it's about.
I do this thing called insomnia, which is I just tweet out things on Twitter, just songs late at night when I can't sleep. What's your go-to song when you're just having a hell of a night?
Asia by Steely Dan. Love that song. That's a song that you could play 100 years from now and still be very hip.
Do you sit there and ever just noodle along to it and play along to it?
It's the hardest guitar lead ever written. No one is ever as good as Asia. It is so tough. Everything perfect.
Let's bring out some guitars here. Let's bring this out.
Well, why not?
Yeah. Can you play a version of it?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to try Asia, but that's something a lot more basic, maybe.
I think it's important to say here before we go any further, I actually don't know how to play guitar. So, but you do. So, first of all, that is a super Megadeth guitar you have there.
All right. What do you want to play?
See, if I think Kevin O Leary, you know what I want you to play for me? I want you to sing This Land Is Your Land. Ooh. The classic pro-labor, political, subversive song. We're going to bring the lyrics up.
I got to tell you, because I got to have the lyrics, because I'd never sing this thing.
That's what I'm doing. What are the chords
is absolutely against everything I am.
I know.
Remember this tune? It starts with a G. You ready? Here we're going to go. This land is your land. This land is mine. I screwed it up. Let's start again. That's how much I hate this tune.
That's all it is, right?
This land is your land. This land is my land.
From California, but we'll say Tofino, to New York Island, Cape Smear.
Ooh, I hate this tune. All right.
Okay, why do you hate this? Okay, go.
Let's try it again. I want you to sing with me.
Dude, you're
not getting away with this. All right, here we go. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands. blah, blah, blah. Here we go.
Hey, everybody.
This land was made for you and me.
So now, there's a part of the song that everybody leaves out,
Yeah, what
which
is
is the last part of the song. They leave the part of the song where the real politics is. Let's do that part.
We're going to read this?
We're going to put the lyrics up for you. Go ahead.
And I was walking, I saw a sign, and that sign said no trespassing, but on the other side it didn't say nothing.
Now that sign was made for you and me. The best part of that song is in the squares of the city, in the shadow of the steeple, near the relief office, I'd seen my people
as they stood there hungry.
And I stood there asking,
is this land made for you and me?
Kevin O Leary, everybody.